Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Decades ago, one man articulated the plight of animals so boldly that the modern world couldn't ignore him. His name was Bashevis Singer, a writer who was far ahead of his time.
Please continue watching to find out more.
Привітання translates as hello. That's how the people of the Republic of Belarus would greet you in Belarusian. Devout viewers, I am Polina. The fine people of Belarus wish for you to always feel nurtured by God's love. Welcome to our show titled Successful Refugees and Immigrants Leading the Way, Part 9. Bashevis Singer, vegetarian, Nobel Prize laureate, and mystic. For various reasons throughout history, people have been forced to leave their homelands and find refuge in other countries, thus allowing them to rebuild their lives and reclaim their dignity. Others have voluntarily migrated to other nations simply for better educational or economic opportunities. There are countless stories of those overcoming many adversities and succeeding in enhancing their new surroundings with their immense skills and talents. Many have made notable contributions to their adopted countries in the fields of art, economics, education, science, sports, etc. In this series, Successful Refugees and Immigrants Leading the Way, we will profile prominent individuals who have enriched the nations to which they have arrived and contributed to the greater good of our world. One of the most profound and powerful writers of the 20th century is Mr. Bashevis Singer, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1978. His best-selling novels include The Family Moskat, The Magician of Lublin, and The Slave. A book of his short stories called The Collected Stories is considered by many to be his greatest work. His writings portray deep and colorful characters who often challenge the norms and restrictions of the place and the society in which they live. Mr. Singer wrote in Yiddish, a dying language of the Jewish people. He felt strongly that a writer is successful if he writes about his own place, his own time, and his own religion. Thus, it was essential to him that his work be written in Yiddish. Here, he shows his sense of humor about writing in Yiddish in his Nobel Prize acceptance speech.
His Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, people are asking me often, why do you write in a dying language? And I want to explain it in a few words. Firstly, I like to write ghost stories, and nothing fits a ghost better than a dying language. The deader the language, the more alive is the ghost. Ghosts love Yiddish, they all speak it. Secondly, I believe in resurrection. I'm sure that the Messiah will soon come and millions of Yiddish-speaking corpses will rise from their graves one day. And their first question will be, is there any new Yiddish book to read?
Mr. Singer was born in 1903 in Poland as the son of a rabbi who was a spiritual leader in the local Jewish community. The language of his beloved neighborhood in Poland was Yiddish. Singer tried going to rabbinical school, but soon left it to become a writer. In 1935, he emigrated to the United States because he was concerned about his country's security. Perhaps what is most surprising about the writings of Mr. Singer is that although they take place among the fairly small community of Polish Jews, and later among the Yiddish-speaking community in New York City, the characters feel universal. His work encompasses so much of the human experience, from the spiritual and mystical to the everyday and the common. The characters' suffering, tribulations, and joys are both familiar and recognizable. Many of his characters feel a rift between the life they are leading and the life that they feel they should lead, and a yearning to understand what is right and what is not. His works often have a sense of magic or legend in them. Here, Isaac Bashevis Singer is being interviewed by the late American radio icon Studs Terkel, and the topic of mysticism comes up.
I feel that what we know about life and about ourselves is not everything. There are hidden powers which we don't know and which we may never know. And I always feel these powers. For example, telepathy is such a power. We all have it, although we don't know why and how it works, and we can never foresee when it will work, but it's there. The same thing is true about dreams which come true, and so on and so on. I would say that there is some mystic in every human being, even in those who deny it.
Mr. Singer felt that his mysticism came from his upbringing. He explains here.
I was brought up in a home where the supernatural was really our daily life. We all believed in spirit, in angels and in demons and in devils. I was born almost with a terrible fear of these higher powers, both a great curiosity and a great fear. And now, at the time in my old age, I still have this feeling that I'm surrounded with powers of which I have no inkling, really, I don't know what they are.
We'll pause briefly for a constructive message and return. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our show, Successful Refugees and Immigrants Leading the Way, Part 9, Isaac Bashevis Singer, vegetarian, Nobel Prize laureate and mystic. Isaac Singer had one particular thing in common with many other Nobel Prize laureates. He was a vegetarian. His compassion for animals and his deep sense of justice are strongly expressed in his writings. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, a Shining World Compassion Award recipient, and the Oscar-winning American actress Natalie Portman made a video in tribute to Isaac Singer. Let's watch a small part.
Nowadays, many of us speak up for animals, but it wasn't always like this. Decades ago, one man articulated the plight of animals so boldly that the modern world couldn't ignore him. His name was Isaac Bashevis Singer, a writer who was far ahead of his time. When Singer stopped eating animals, he famously declared, "I did not become a vegetarian for my health. I did it for the health of the chickens." His sensitivity can be traced to his childhood remorse for pulling the wings off of flies. He wrote, "I realized that I was committing terrible crimes against those creatures just because I was bigger and stronger. I prayed for forgiveness, and my thinking about the suffering of flies expanded to include all people and all animals."
Singer spoke and wrote extensively about vegetarianism, which was tied up with his feelings about God, religion, and righteousness. Perhaps his feelings about the animals are best summed up in this quote.
"Even in the worm that crawls in the earth, there glows a divine spark. When you slaughter a creature, you slaughter God."
Mr. Singer also wrote the preface to a book called Food for the Spirit, Vegetarianism and the World Religions by Stephen Rosen. In it, he expressed the depths of his feelings about being vegetarian.
When a human kills an animal for food, he is neglecting his own hunger for justice. Man prays for mercy, but is unwilling to extend it to others. Why should man then expect mercy from God? It is unfair to expect something that you are not willing to give. It is inconsistent. I can never accept inconsistency or injustice, even if it comes from God. If there would come a voice from God saying, "I'm against vegetarianism," I would say, "Well, I'm for it. This is how strongly I feel in this regard."
Singer's short story called The Slaughterer is his work that most directly addresses the injustice and horror of killing animals for meat. In this tale, a man is passed over for the position of town rabbi, and thus, for a livelihood, he is pushed into the job of slaughtering animals according to the kosher laws. But this rabbi cannot bear the sight of blood or the suffering of animals. Another rabbi convinces him to take the job by telling him that man may not be more compassionate than the Almighty, the source of all compassion. The rabbi is tormented as he watches each animal fight for his life. At night, he has nightmares where animals speak to him as he slaughters them, or the animals turn into people. During the day, he feels immersed in blood, and the cries of the animals fill his ears. He wishes for death and release from suffering. Eventually, he gives into madness and kills himself. The story ends with the town looking for a new person to take the position of slaughterer. Isaac Bashevis Singer died in 1991 at the age of 87. He will always be a towering figure in both literature and the animal rights movement. If you would like to learn more about Isaac Bashevis Singer, you can read his many novels, short stories, or autobiographical books. Benevolent viewers, thank you very much for watching our program. Coming up next is Real Love is Always There and with Wisdom, Part 2 of 3 on Between Master and Disciples, right after Noteworthy News. May you wake each morning with a heart full of joy.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/GPGW.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/GPGW.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/GPGW.
Unsere Sendungen bieten viele Sprachen. Gehen Sie auf suprememastertv.com/schedule und suprememastertv.com/GPGW.